Good morning. We're learning Tractate Eruvin and holding in the 7th chapter. The name of the chapter is Chalon at page 82a1. The Gemara proceeds to analyze the statement of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi mentioned above only incidentally. What was the incident mentioned above? Only incidentally. So the incident was that we said previously that halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda.
Oh, that whole thing with Rabbi Yehuda.
Halacha would follow Rabbi Yehuda when it comes to Eruvin.
Right, but not by Mechitza.
Not Mechitza and not with Lechi or Kera, right?
Right.
Let's see. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Kamar Shama Rabbi Yehuda, Emosai Bamo. Whenever Rabbi Yeshua said the word Bameh, or the word Emosai, which Bamo means when or regarding what. Bameh is regarding what. Emosai means when. So if Rabbi Yehuda used this expression, Mishnah Seinu, in our Mishnah, he only came to explain the rabbis. It wasn't his opinion. The intent, his intent, Rabbi Yehuda's intent, was only to explain the previously recorded opinion of the rabbis, the sages. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, if you use the word when, then it comes to explain the previous opinion. But if you use the word bameh, he comes to lachlek, to dispute the previous opinion. Both Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan are in agreement regarding the prefatory, it's like the hakdama, the when, meaning the word when, bameh. The Gemara questions this. Ve'imosai leforish hu, and when you say the word when, which you introduce your statement with the word bameh, is it coming to really explain what the rabbis were saying about Tenan? We learned in the Mishnah, ve'elu hen apesulim, and these are the ones that are disqualified from testimony. That's speaking about people that are pasul edut. If you are playing the dice, if you're rolling the dice, I guess it's a poker game, whatever. Gambling. Poker doesn't have a dice?
No, this dice, you roll the dice 7, 11, 11. I never played dice.
In poker, you also throw the cubes, no?
Poker's cards.
There's the cards.
Right.
So blackjack, you throw
blackjack, right.
Blackjack also cards.
That's also cards, right. Yeah. Only the dice and the roulette. You have dice and roulette, which are not cards.
So if somebody is misachik v'kuvia, I think it's probably...
It's the whole thing.
The whole casino.
No, you're not going to make them putter from being,
So he's disqualified to be a witness. Because you can't trust him. He's used to cheating, right?
Gambling.
He's in the business of cheating.
Right.
Why is gambling cheating?
Because you're taking money from your friends from gambling.
You gain from someone else's loss, right? That the only way for you to gain is somebody else has to lose.
Yeah.
But if you're playing in a casino and a machine, you're not taking.
It reminded me of a story. I heard a guy, a couple in Israel somewhere, maybe in Yerushalayim, they married off their kids. They realized that they have debt after marrying off all their kids. So they figured out they'll sell their apartment and they buy a smaller one, whatever, and that's how they'll pay the debt. So they listed the apartment. A guy, it was cheaper than because they were in a rush to sell. Yeah. So a guy comes to their house and he looks at the house, everything looks great, and the price is low. He says, "Why are you selling?" So they told him the whole story, that they married off their kids and they ran out of money and they need to pay their debt, so that's why they're selling. So he says, I like the apartment, but I'm not buying. So they said, why? He said, because I'm not going to gain, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose from this. They said, no, but you're helping us. You're helping us. We need the money. This. He said, okay, how much money do you need? Told them whatever the debt was. He said, I'm giving you a loan of this money. I'm not buying your place. Here's the money that you need. You don't have to sell. You pay me when you can.
Wow.
He never met them the first time. He said, here's the money that you
Rich
need.
guy, for sure.
Probably. And he gave it to them and said, when you sell it, one day when you paid off your debt and then you decide to sell it, fine, you decide to sell it. But I don't want to gain from someone else losing.
Wow.
Which is an interesting concept. It makes you think, what about all the whole cases of foreclosures? If we're buying foreclosures. What do you?
What's this?
But if we don't buy it, someone else is going to buy it,
Yeah.
and the bank is going to take it. I mean, it's not exactly the same case of a Jew living in a house and I don't know, but
You don't know, every street is different.
but he says you prefer to make money from simcha of someone, from a joy situation, not from somebody's. They say one man's loss, another man's gain, right? It's like almost like some people gain from a hurricane. There's a hurricane. People lose their houses. Another guy's doing construction. He has a lot of work, So
When they stopped the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures now,
the landlords are hurt.
the landlord is got to pay the mortgage and the upkeep of the property and the taxes, and meanwhile they're letting the tenants get away, even when you're doing a moratorium on the bank loans for
Right.
mortgages. I mean, there's all these laws of unintended consequences.
So another guy that is disqualified to be a witness is if the loan sharks, those who
one who lends with interest.
lends money with interest. Malav beribis. Mafrich yoinim. Dove racers. What is dove racers?
Like horse racing, I guess.
So back then they had this sport. Those who cause doves to fly. The reason for this disqualification is similar to the rationale of disqualifying dice players. The Gemara explains alternatively that this case refers to those who train doves to lure others' doves from their coats. So, in other words, let's say you have a dove coat. You raising doves. I'm raising doves. I want to take your doves. So what do? I train my doves to come to your doves and to tell them to come to me. So I'm not physically taking your doves, but I'm training mine. So now they're getting your doves excited and your doves are coming into mine.
Then it's yours.
Trick, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Nasty. So Seichel Shvish and people who are making money through the Shemitah. They make money, they're not allowed to grow, but Seichel, merchant of Shvish. So, Amar Yehuda Mosai, when is a dice player disqualified? He says, if you're doing dice playing casino as a habit, as a hobby, you go once a week or once a month, you're not disqualified to be a witness. But if it's your business,
Recurrent.
no, that's how you make a living. I heard about a guy that he was a professional poker player. He was about tshuva, and he stopped going, but he didn't have money. So he made it every day. He would go. He said, the moment he makes $200, that's what he needs. $200, he walk out. Every day he come to the $200, walk out.
You know what's interesting?
But it says that if you do it for a profession, according to everyone, it's a problem. It seems like that if you're doing it for this is your business.
Going one day in a year.
According to this, it's not considered.
But it's a problem because the environment is the worst.
Yeah, but
I don't know
listen,
why.
You see girls, you see girls.
I went to
Like-
Puerto Rico.
It's no
Right.
good.
I went to Puerto Rico, and there's a casino down. So I said, "All right, $20 me, $20 you." We put the machine and walked out.
You won?
Huh?
You won?
No, I won once in Atlantic City when I first was going out with my wife. I put in 75 cents and got 13.
I went to Las Vegas 2 times. The 2 times I went without no money, zero. I called my father, I was 17, 18. I called my father, Dad, I don't have any money. Can you tell your sister from LA to send me $500? I don't have money to go to the airport.
Wow, because you
I
lost.
spent 1,000, but I
Wow.
made a trip to spend.
Wow.
Was in purpose to spend. Like, first time in my life in casino.
No,
Wow.
I mean, maybe
I went 20
I
times.
go once in 5 years.
Yeah.
Once in 5 years when we go on a trip. I hate it.
But according to halacha, it seems like the opinion of the rabbis. It says V'tanya lo. So it says Aval yesh lo umnus shelohi. If you have profession, you have a trade that it's not rolling the dice, it's not gambling. Arei ze kosher. Then it's acceptable. It's acceptable. Now the Chachamim hayu V'tanya lo baito. It was taught about this Mishnah in a Bible, Ben Shen Lo Umnus Elahi, Uben Shen Lo Sheloi Arez Apostle. The rabbi said, regardless if it's your business, it's not your business, it's possible. You are disqualified as a witness. You frequently visiting the casino, you are not.
It's the bad environment.
It is. I'm not disagreeing with you.
People drink all the time.
So we should have a drink for your marriage, your anniversary.
Okay.
That's it, l'chaim.
Okay.
Aïd Rabbi Yehuda Amar B'Tafani, that opinion of the sages of the Baita is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Tafan. The Tanya was taught in the Baita that if 2 people were sitting together and they witnessed a man approaching and one of them vowed to accept Nazirus if the approaching man was a Nazir. And the other responded by accepting Nazirus if the approaching man was not a Nazir.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not liking it, but okay.
Yeah, it sounds iffy. And the Rambam is speaking about it in the now. If you're doing the 3 chapters, the Rambam is speaking about
I
it.
went back to one to tell you the truth.
Our Rabbi Yehuda Mishum B'Tafon. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of B'Tafon, Lo men echad men nozir. In fact, neither of them is considered a Nazir. While if Yishayin Nazirus al Aflo, for a Nazirite vow is made only with unequivocal declaration, meaning it's not maybe you're Nazir or you're not. You're not if this guy's coming, if this guy's not coming. What does it show us? Since either of these 2 guys, you can call them the 2 clowns, they're unsure if the approaching man is a Nazir or he is not. He does not obligate himself to become Nazir because of the doubt. Here too, in the case of the dice player, since he does not know if he will acquire the winnings or not, he does not resolve to confer ownership of his money upon his opponent should he lose. He doesn't know. So it says in number 12. Rabbi Tarfon is of the opinion that a vow is void if it is contingent upon factors. The moment you make a vow contingent upon factor is not valid, according to Rabbi Tarfon. For a vow is
If it's not under your
the
control.
case of a smachta, in which Rabbi Tarfon expressed will is not legally binding. Adon Allah Chalom, we shall return to you Chalom.
You
So it seems like you cannot make a vow, what?
no, you skip one word.
Like Gomba Umakno, right?
Beyond one's control. If it's not under your control, you can't do a vow.
Right.
You skip.
Right, yeah. Rabbi Tarfon is of the opinion a vow is void if it is contingent upon factors beyond one's control.
Yeah.
It's important, yeah. These words are important. It says beyond one's control. For a vow is the case of smach. So that changes everything, because it seems like you can make a vow with certain
You can't control.
with certain contingencies, meaning if this and this happens, making this vow, but these things needs to be in your control. If it's beyond your control, then a vow is not. So that's why people make a deal with Hashem. If you're giving me this, I'll do this. It's not a real vow because it's not in your control.
Yeah.
But if you say, I do this, with a hope that you'll give me A and B, that's something
We
else.
study this.
Then you,
Shavuot, yeah?
right? Yeah.
Shavuot, Shekel, yeah.
Yeah, we have many types of shavuot, oath, but this is seems like it's a oath in vain, meaning it's
It's not going to happen.
yeah. So we're learning chapter 8, starting chapter 8, and it says areas between unjoined chatzorot and water supplies. That's we're going to these two things. Two chatzorot are joined but have not joined in a mutual eruv chatzorot. So they are so two chatzorot are joined but have not joined in a mutual eruv chatzorot. According to one of this prohibited, and another problem which arises out of shared use of any area but two chatzorot is access to and use of a water cistern. Let's see. So Keitzad Mishtatfin, right? That's the name of the chapter. Keitzad Mishtatfin B'Tchumin. How does one make communal eruv B'Tchumin? How does one set up an eruv so that anyone who wishes to establish his Shabbos dwelling at the spot where the eruv food was deposited can do so easily? So eruv tchumim again to extend the Shabbos reach. One places a barrel of food at the eruv side and declares, "Let this be for all the people of my town." For whoever will go to a house of mourning or to a wedding banquet, whoever accepted to have his Shabbos dwelling established at the site of the eruv while it was yet day is permitted. Also, after dark is prohibited. He must remain within the perimeters of the tchum as defined by his real dwelling. For one cannot make an eruv after dark. One may make an eruv of a mitzvah matter. One may leave his regular tchum area by means of the eruv device only to perform mitzvah. It's an interesting concept. So don't just go. If you're going to do mitzvah, you should go. You should use an eruv. Make the eruv and then you can go. But no, just for traveling or walking, it's not. Michael Ashlantanino, what does Rabbi Yosef teach us? He said, we have already learned this in our Mishnah. Whoever goes to a house of mourning, or a mishte, or a wedding banquet. So it says, he gives you only examples of doing a mitzvah. Mm-hmm. To go to the mourner's house and to a wedding banquet, it's a mitzvah. You might have said that the Mishnah merely teaches the routine way of things. The examples cited in the Mishnah are routine purposes of an eruv kamashma. Therefore, Yosef informs us explicitly. He wanted to be clear that the use of an eruv is restricted to mitzvah matters. Whoever accepted upon himself while it was yet day is permitted. Shmat mina and bereiro derive from it, the Mishnah, that there is no retroactive clarification. What's the deal with bereira? Retroactive clarification. If there is a clarification, if the Mishnah accepts the principle of retroactive clarification, even if he accepted the eruv on the Shabbos, let it be clarified retroactively that the Eruv was acceptable to him yet in the daytime, before the Shabbos.
You can't say that.
That the Mishnah disqualified the participation of those who did not accept the Eruv before the Shabbos proves that the Mishnah does not accept the principle of retroactive clarification.
Right. I can understand, like, okay, we're sitting here in shul, somebody says, something somebody's getting married or the opposite thing, and you say, okay, I want to go there, I want to walk there so I can be there after Shabbos to go to do either to be in the Menachem the Oval or to be Sameach the Kala.
Right.
So I can see that in happening, like you said, so and so is this, so and so is that, and it's okay, I gotta go. But I don't know how I could say that I couldn't say I accepted the error from yesterday because I just found out the news this minute.
What happened if you heard the news on Friday but you didn't think of going, and suddenly on Shabbos you decided to go?
That's another thing.
So if the Mishnah tells us that he cannot go, you cannot use the Eruv, it shows us that the Mishnah does not accept retroactive clarification.
Right. I mean, I see not to do that, that the Mishnah is right, the Gemara is right.
So Amar Ravashi, Oidiu Veloi Oidiu Kitani. Instead, interpreting a Mishnah as distinguishing between the acceptance of the Eruv before the beginning of the Shabbos and after it. One should interpret that the Mishnah teaches us to differentiate between when the makers of the Eruv, informed them of the existence of the Eruv and when they did not inform him. Okay, so one time they told him, one time they didn't. Two different cases, whether they informed them or not.
Oh, this is the error.
So it says in number 5, when the Mishnah says he accepted, it does not insist on an actual acceptance, potential acceptance, which can occur when he has knowledge of the existence of the Eruv. Suffices. So you see, if he knows that the Eruv is there, he wants to say it suffices even though he is not. He didn't think, oh, I want to walk. So just knowing that there is an Eruv, it suffices to enable him to walk. So once the person has knowledge of the Eruv before the Shabbos, he may accept the Eruv on the Shabbos itself by applying the principle of retroactive clarification. His acceptance is retroactively extended to the pre-Shabbos time, and the Eruv is validated for him. Even if one accepts the principle of retroactive clarification, the clarification can be extended only to such time that the potential for actual clarification existed. Potential for actual clarification existed, meaning that he knew about the Eruv. So if he knew about the Eruv on Friday, he knew that somebody is doing an Eruv, then he can decide on Shabbos that he wants to go. And it retroactively clarifies to us that he really wanted to go on Friday. He just didn't verbalize it, or he wasn't, it was not developed yet.
What is the problem if you wanted to go on Friday? You can
No.
plan on Shabbat?
No, if he says, there's no problem. Obviously, Friday can walk as much as you want. But the Eruv was placed on Friday, right? The Eruv Tchomin was placed on Friday.
Okay.
The border of the town was placed. Now, if he knew about it, we're talking about another guy that didn't place the Eruv. So just another person. You could have joined the Eruv and say, oh, you know what? I want to be part of it also. To himself. And everything would be fine. He can walk, there's no question about it. The question starts when he doesn't say that he wants to walk. He didn't decide that he wants to walk. So the Gemara tells us like this. If he knew that the Eruv was there, just for knowing that the Eruv is there, if he decides on Shabbat that he wants to go, he can use the Eruv. Why? Because it probably, deep inside, he wanted to go on Friday. Maybe he didn't say it, didn't think about it, but it reveals to us that he wanted to go because he had that potential. So
But can you plan to do something on Shabbat before Shabbat? You
No,
can't.
no, but okay.
Yeah,
so
you can
know-
you can plan on Friday that on Shabbat you want to walk another 2,000 amot for a mitzvah or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
For mitzvah, you said, "Oh, I heard that somebody is having a kiddush, is celebrating Shabbat Chatan, Shabbat Kala, whatever you want to call it, a wedding, and I plan on Shabbat to walk to his house." It's like people make a plan on Shabbat to come to my house. They walk from the shul like.
But it's Shabbat. It's
No, but let's
before
say
Shabbat.
before Shabbat, he planned to go on Shabbat to my house.
Oh,
What's
it's
the
okay.
problem? There's no problem with it. The only issue is when the guy didn't even know that there is an Eruv, and he finds out on Shabbat that somebody placed an Eruv, and now he decides that he wants to use the Eruv. He can't. The Eruv Tchumin. He can't use it. So it's not about, so really what the Gemara is saying, it's not about accepting Bereira, retroactive clarification, or not accepting it. He says we are accepting retroactive clarification, but in a case where he knew about the Eruv, at least he knew about it. Fine, he didn't say he wants to go, he didn't have the intention, but at least knew that it existed.
Right.
If he didn't know about it, there's no retroactive clarification because there's nothing to clarify. He had no potential.
Right.
When you have potential to do something and you didn't do it, and later you decide you wanted to do it, it probably revealed that initially you wanted to do it.
Let's say, I know about the Eruvin. I said, and somebody said, I have a Shayna, Sarah Katuna's daughter. She has some. So I said, let me go to Parkland, so I could walk to Parkland. No.
Right.
But maybe I didn't think about it Friday.
Friday, yeah.
I said, but I knew the Eruvin was here. And then somebody said, Shayna's having, she's having something.
Oh, you don't plan for after Shabbat. That's
Right.
confused.
Yeah.
You don't plan on Shabbat.
Shabbat,
for
you're
after
not
Shabbat.
supposed to make plans, but at least
After
verbal
Shabbat.
plans you can have in your thought, you can plan, but not verbal.
But how about I say, okay, somebody's having a Malka at in Parkland, so I say, okay, I'm going to start walking. I'll daven.
Not allowed to do that. And you go in by end of the Shabbos, you're just going to start cross the line, right?
Right. So it could
You're not
be-
supposed to do that.
No.
We learned in Shulchan Aruch. Remember,
Right.
we
I'm
learned in
just saying
Shulchan
from
Aruch.
this, all right.
So Amar Avasi, Kotam ben Sheshes V'Ruvim, a child even in his sixth year, and surely one younger than 6, fulfills his obligation to make an Eruv with his mother's Eruv. He may leave his original Shabbos Tchum and accompany his mother throughout the new Tchum established by our Eruv, because he is considered a part of his mother, and it is foregone conclusion that his mother had him in mind when she made her Eruv. It's amazing. It tells us that the child
Till
is
six.
part of his mother.
Till 6, yeah.
Till 70.
Till 120, actually. But
No, meaning that initially she had him in mind, even if. Yeah. Because he's considered a part of his mother. A minor who still needs his mother fulfills his obligation to make an Eruv with his mother's Eruv. But a child that no longer needs his mother does not fulfill his obligation with his mother's Eruv. Since the Baisa does not define who has need of his mother, it does not explicitly contradict Ravasi's ruling. The Gemara will demonstrate that this expression is defined elsewhere in a way that contradicts Ravasi's ruling. And the Mishnah also teaches a similar ruling concerning the mitzvah of sukkah. A minor who has no need of his mother is obligated to participate in the mitzvah of sukkah. Okay? A minor who has no need of his mother is obligated to participate in the mitzvah of sukkah. Who is considered a minor who does not need his mother? Whoever defecates his mother doesn't need to clean him. So once he trained, toilet trained, and he manages to clean himself, he he's not considered tzorich le'imoi.
So
He's
6-year-old
not
knows how
needing
to
his
do
mother.
that.
Right? Rabbi Shimon Lakish said that another characteristic of a child who does not need his mother is kol sheneo v'enakirima. The moment he wakes up and he doesn't cry for his mother, it shows that he's already matured. Right? Can you think mother is meant? Can it even be suggested that crying mother, if somebody cries to his mother, upon awakening identifies one as a minor? Even older children who surely are not in the category of one who needs his mother also cry mother upon awakening.
You know how many times I heard this word in my home every day? Mom, mom.
So I still say it.
Every day.
When I see her, I say mom, I call her. She calls
You
me
also, Rabbi, yeah?
mom.
7 kids?
Yeah.
Mom.
Ella Ema. Rather say that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said it follows. But it's speaking about someone who wakes up and that's what he does first thing, right? He calls.
Continually cry.
Any child upon awakening does not continually cry, mother, mother. Only a child who continues to cry, mother, mother, until the mother comes to him is classified as needing his mother. The Gemara now determines the age limitation of one who needs his mother. And how many years old can a child be and still be considered one who needs his mother? The category has here 2-4 been defined in terms of behavior. However, until what age does a child presumably fit into the behavioral pattern that defines the category? In the 4th or 5th year, a child may still fit into the category of one who needs his mother. Okay, 4-5, between 4 and 5. The exact determination depends on the stage of the child's rate of development. A precocious child will leave the category earlier. I guess precocious means someone smart child.
Sharper, I don't know, more emotionally mature, more it's the whole thing.
While the slower one
right.
may linger there for another year.
He's saying it right there.
So Asi's ruling is hereby contradicted. The Gemara has concluded that after his 5th year, even a slower child leaves the category of one who needs his mother, whereas Asi ruled that the category extends even through the 6th year.
I don't think the word slower or faster should be, because like I told your wife one day, Einstein didn't start to talk till he was 6 years old. That's a famous thing.
No, but in terms of needing his mother
I don't know how long
in
Einstein,
other areas,
I don't know how long Einstein needed his mother. I guess he maybe wrote a book about it.
and it could be that Einstein was intellectually developed and emotionally not.
That could also
So intelligence and emotional development are two different things.
Two different things, right?
So sometimes intellectually and emotionally you're developed and physically you're not developed.
I have my middle brother. He didn't talk for a long time, and then he started. And I wish he kept his mouth shut.
Yeah. How old was he when he started?
I don't know. He must have started. I don't know, 4 or 5. But
Oh.
now he's in China being an economist. That's smart.
Amar of Yeshua Breder of Idi. Of Yeshua, the son of Avidi, said, Ravasi will concede that a child above 5 years of age is not automatically included in his mother's Eruv, and so he does not dispute the Baita. Rather, his ruling concerns a specific case of a mother who set aside a separate Eruv for her child. Ravasi, when did Ravasi say that a child in his 6th year is included in his mother's Eruv? For example, the child's father made an Eruv for him to the north, he shifted the child's Tichum to the north, and his mother made an Eruv for him to the south. And the question now is which of the two conflicting Eruvs should take effect? The north, made by the father, or the south, made by the mother. For even a child as mature as one in his 6th year prefers the company of his mother. Meitiv, they challenge Rabbi Yeshua's interpretation of Ravasi's question, a position from a bais. A minor who still needs his mother fulfills his requirement to make an Eruv with his mother's Eruv even until he is in the 6th year. The Bais indicates that even in his 6th year, a child is automatically included in his mother's Eruv, a contradiction of Rabbi Yeshua's interpretation. Tiyuvta de Rabbi Yeshua bar Rav Idi. This is a refutation to the interpretation of Yeshua, the son of Rav Idi. Tiyuvta, this is indeed a refutation. One examines the statement made earlier by other Amoraim in light of the Bais Alema Te'evet Tiyuvta de Ravasi. Should we say that the Baita is also a refutation to the position of Rav Asi? Rav Asi had ruled that even in his 6th year, a minor is included in his mother's Eruv, while the Baita allows this only until he is in his 6th year. Rav Asi should reply to you that the Baita poses no contradiction to his ruling. Ad ve'ad bichlal. The term until in the Baisa means until inclusively, meaning until and including his 6th year, a minor is included in his mother's Eruv. The Baisa's ruling is in full agreement with Rav Asi's view. Should we say that the Baisa is also a refutation of the position of Rav Yanai and Reish Lakish? The Gemara resolves the contradiction. This is not a difficulty. The Baisa does not contradict the positions of Rabbi Yana and Reish Lakish. This ruling of the Amoraim in regard to the mitzvah of Sukkah refers to a situation where the father is present in the town. Since the father is available to attend to his child, the child can leave the category of a minor who had need of his mother, even when only his 4th or 5th year, as indicated in the ruling of Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yana. For this, the Baita refers to a situation where the father is not present in the town. Consequently, the child's dependency upon the mother is heightened, and so he remains in the category of a minor who had need of his mother even until he is in his 6th year, as indicated in the Baita. So I guess the emphasis over here is that when the father is not present in the town, the dependency of the child in his parents, in his mother, grows. If he had a dependency level 5, he's 6 years old, but dependency level 5, his father's away, dependency goes up to 10. Okay?
This mitzvah is sukkah. So a minor, I thought, was pater from the mitzvah. Okay, so if the father is there, he takes the child to the sukkah. His mother's pater. Women are pater from the sukkah.
But I think you're mixing two different things, right?
Okay, maybe. I could be.
We have two cases. We said about Sukkah that if a child does not need his mother, he is obligated in the mitzvah of Sukkah, right?
All right, I'm confused. I was confused.
So a child who reaches the stage of development should be trained to observe the mitzvah of Sukkah. He's not obligated, he needs to be trained. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, regarding the Eruv, is when the mother places an Eruv, is her child included or not in the Eruv? So,
The father is out of town.
so the answer to this is depends. Is the child dependent on the mother or not? So, if you say categorically 6 years old is included or not included, there's a contradicting statement. So he says, in a usual case, 6 years old should be independent, and he needs to have his own Eruv, or he needs to be included in the Eruv with the mother. She has to include him in the Eruv. Verbally say he's included in this Eruv, or to have him in mind, whatever it is. But if the father is not in town, he becomes more dependent on it. Obviously, like single parents. Why? What's the issue with kids growing with a single parent? That they don't get enough attention, because how much a mother can give. She can't be a mother and a father. She can try, but she can't be both.
No,
And or vice versa. Father cannot be a mother all the time. You can try to get into it and try to.
right. I mean,
But kids that grew up in a situation like this, statistically and it's scientifically proven,
right. I mean, it's
socially
not that-
proven that they received less. There's no way about it. There's no two ways about it.
Sometimes you can't help it if somebody is.
No, we're not blaming. I'm saying even the
It's a
Gemara
fact.
tells
No,
us,
it's a fact. That's why you got all this.
and the dependency becomes even more.
I'll save my rant for later about this.
Yeah. You cannot you even if the divorce is everything happens smoothly and
Right. you're
the
not
husband
there.
or the wife
I-
are very
I
supportive
went
of each
through it.
other and supporting of the kids, there's still the bottom line is that the kids are growing up by themselves, by one of them. And if your mother or the father's working,
It's very hard.
You know, you see him on, I used to see him on the weekend.
All my life was like this. Oh, exactly.
so you grew up with the father or the mother.
My mother during the weekdays, and my father Shabbat and Sunday,
The weekends.
the weekends.
Yeah, I had a similar situation with my children. Baruch Hashem, I mean,
You saw him in the weekends?
every other weekend, and I have them for summer or whatever. Actually, it ended up when they weren't busy, they would come, and when they were busy, they wouldn't come. They, you know, like after a certain time.
But you live nearby.
I was in by Newark, in Hillside, and they ended up in the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
So that was a long drive for them, no?
A long drive for me. We're taking the train. At one point, I used to take the train in sometimes and
Oh.
pick them up, go back down. I knew all the tunnels by the Penn Station very well.
Wow. Yeah.
Those were the days. I wouldn't go there anymore. It stinks there. They're all, who knows, you get stabbed or whatever.
No. It all became expensive, beautiful.
No, I'm talking about Penn Station.
I'm sure it's even upstate, right? You
Up-
say,
Upper West
Upper
Side.
West Side, yeah. It's,
Right now people are running. Anyway, let's not go there. Let's stop. I don't.
Upper West Side is Jersey. There's a
no. In Manhattan, you have the if you go up, meaning the numbers of the streets go up. You start with number 1. You go all the way to when it gets to 80, 90,
After
100.
72nd Street.
It's called starting Upper West Side, then Harlem, Spanish Harlem, this Harlem.
So I would
But-
take the New Jersey Transit into Penn Station.
But
and
if
then-
you're in the West Side, it's called Upper West. If you're East Side, it's I don't know which one was worse, but
I ended up. So I would take the train into Penn Station and then.
but
take,
where the mother would go when you were coming.
Well, it depends how big. As they were bigger, they would just come down from their apartment, and I would put them in a car, or I take them, or I go up to her apartment and get them. Whatever it was.
But if it was cold outside, you couldn't. You need to be. What do you do?
No, the subway was like down the street.
You
from
would
her.
go with them in the subway, go somewhere.
Right. I mean, or I take my car, and they'd have coats, we'd have coats. I mean, if it was terrible weather, maybe we'd push it over. I mean, we weren't, listen, I got along enough with her to do things,
That's good, yeah.
so, she, you know.
So Tanu Rabbanon, a person may make an eruv for his minor son or daughter. Remember, it's ketzad mishtatfin. How do we participate in the eruv? But over here it tells you even how to send someone else. A person may make an eruv for his minor son or daughter by specifically setting aside an eruv for the child. Al Dav L'Shivchos HaKnanim, for his Canaanite slave or slave woman, Ben L'Daitam and Sh'L'Daitam, both with their consent or without their consent. Aval Eino Me'orev Lo Alidei Avdei V'Shivchos HaIvrim, he may not make an Eruv, neither for his Jewish manservant nor maidservant, nor for his adult son or nor daughter, for his wife, except with their consent. Tanya Ido, another Baisa teaches, a person may not make an eruv for his adult son or daughter, nor for his Jewish maidservant, or maidservant, nor for his wife, except with their consent. One make an eruv for his Canaanite slave woman, and for his minor son or daughter, both with their consent or without their consent. Why? Because their hand is as his hand. They are under the jurisdiction of their master or father. Furthermore, even if any of these made their own eruv to travel in one direction, while at the same time their master made an eruv for them to travel in another direction, they meet their techum requirement with their master's eruv. Because except for a wife, because she is entitled to object, because a wife is not subject to her husband's eruv when she objects to it. She is also not subject to it when she has made her own conflicting eruv, even though she did not protest. Isho ma'ishno. How does a wife differ from the others in her categories, such as adult children and Jewish servants? Surely the others are also entitled to object to an imposed eruv and should enjoy the same legal protection. Amar Rabbi Isha v'chol dedomi lo. Rabbi said, the Baisa means a wife and whoever resembles her. By excluding a wife, the Baisa means to exclude all those who, like her, are entitled to object, adult children and Jewish servants. Master has said, the Baisa cited earlier states, except for a wife, because she is entitled to object. Tama de Mochi, the reason why a husband's eruv is not binding upon a wife is because she objects. She objects. She doesn't want it. One can then infer, but in general, if she did not express any partiality either for her or against his eruv, she fulfills her requirement with her husband's eruv. She is bound to the tchum defined by her husband's eruv, even if she did not expressly consent to be governed by it. But the first clause of the Baita states that an eruv may not be made for a wife at all, except with her at all.
Right, means like others.
Yeah.
The other ones.
Except with their consent.
Right.
Lawyers use it a lot, at
Right.
all.
It's like etc.
It's like Hebrew. It.
No, it's Latin.
Yeah, but this word it.
Et al is Latin.
Yeah.
That's exactly
So the Gemara says, "My love, the omre ein." What does it mean that the eruv is valid only if they say yes? This contradicts the inference drawn from the end of the Baita that the eruv is valid for the wife at al, as long as she does not object. When you say midaitom, except with their consent, means that they were quiet. Quiet means you're okay with it. Shtika koido, you agree to it. Excluded by implication is when they, the wife or servant, said no. Only if they objected explicitly is the eruv imposed upon them not valid.
Or servant, I mean the Jewish servant, not the goy.
With Jewish servant, yes. With a goy servant, he's like the extension of you, and
The
therefore
hand-
with
the
a
hand
non-Jewish.
thing that he said
Yeah.
there. Right.
If any of these Canaanite slaves, minor children, made an Eruv, and their master also made an Eruv for them, they meet their requirement with their master's Eruv. Sesamu refers to a general situation. The Vaisa case does not imply that the slave et al. Objected to the master's making an Eruv for them. Yet the Vaisa teaches the following qualification in reference to this rule, except for a wife who does not meet her tichum requirement in this manner. She is not subject to the Eruv her husband made for her. Rather, she is subject to the Eruv she made for herself. We see that a wife is not subject to an Eruv made for her by her husband, even if she did not object explicitly, contrary to the position now taken by the Gemara. Since they, the Canaanite slaves and minor children referred to in the last clause of the Vaisa just cited, made an Eruv, which contradicts the master's or father's Eruv, there is no greater expression of objection. The concluding clause of the Vaisa does not refer to a general situation as previously supposed, but to one where an objection was explicitly made. Consequently, the law regarding a wife et al. May differ only in that she may object. If she does not object, her silence may be interpreted as an acceptance, as inferred from the last clause of the Vaisa.
Yes.
What is the Eruvin Tchumen's quantity? To food for 2 meals for each and every person who wishes to participate in the Eruv. 2 meals. His food for the weekday meals and not his food for the Shabbos. Because your Shabbos food is more than your weekday food. Meaning the amount that you eat on Shabbos should be, and is probably larger than the amount that you eat during the week. Dear Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda says no. The quantity is determined by his food for the Shabbos meal. That's the 2 meals that we said that you need to have in your Eruv is Shabbos meal, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says weekday.
16 figs, we learn, I think. 16 figs. Dried figs, the amount. I
The
think we learn.
figs. Yeah, maybe in the last paragraph.
They don't say now, but I think this is the amount.
14.
14.
14 and 15.
So v'zeh v'zeh miskom la'akan, both intend to rule leniently. Each of these Tanoim insists that the Eruv's quantity be determined by the meal which is smaller. They differ, however, on which meals are smaller, weekday meals or the Shabbos meals. So they're both coming to be lenient. So Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that the Shabbos meal is smaller than the weekday meal. That's why he said you should have 2 meals for the Eruv that are Shabbos meals. On the other hand, Rabbi Meir is thinking that the weekday meals are smaller than the Shabbos meal, and therefore he says you should have weekday meals, 2 weekday meals, because they are smaller. That's what I mean. Miskavlim lahakel, they're trying to find leniency, that they're ruling leniently. Rabbi Yochanan ben Boyko, Omar Mikika Punya Midal Same Misel. Rabbi Yochanan ben Boyko said the quantity of bread necessary for an Eruv is a loaf which purchased for punyan. Punyan is a type of a coin. When for seah of grain or purchased for selah. Let's see 15. Initially, Rabbi Yochanan understood was referring to a loaf which has the volume of 12 eggs. The calculation is as follows. The relationship between the monetary units mentioned here is 1 selah equal 4 dinar, 1 dinar equals 6 ma, 1 ma equals 2 pundion.
They love to complicate.
The
Right,
relationship, but it changes all the time at different
but
points.
this phrase, a loaf which is purchased for a pundion, when a 4 seah of grain are purchased for a selah. It's complicated. Why don't they don't make it simple? This is the quantity. Why you have to go? I don't know. My opinion. It's complicated.
But I think it also leaves no room for questions, right?
Maybe.
Once-
Because in the
once
beginning of
Maybe
15,
it's different.
it says it should be a half a cup, means 12 egg volumes. A person who's going to make challah got to put when you make a challah. I know my wife, his wife, and my friend upstairs. They make a whole big thing of. They just make one little challah. They make a whole bunch.
I think it's 43 eggs to make the official halal.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I think.
my friend upstairs, she makes challah.
I think. I don't know. The volume.
I buy her all her stuff. She likes me. We buy things for her. Very nice lady. Anyway, let's not go there.
The Gemara will modify the calculation. Let's see. Rabbi Shimon said the quantity of bread necessary for an eruv is 2 parts, or 2/3 of a loaf, of which there are 3 to a cup. Chetzia levaisa menuga, half of it, the loaf discussed above, is equivalent to the minimum amount of food necessary for a house afflicted with tzaras. Let's see, v'chetzi lifsot hagivia, and half of it, the quarter of the loaf, is equivalent to the minimum amount of food necessary to render the body pasul. Okay, let's see. The term pasul is used to indicate a low level of tumah, in which the person himself is tameh and may not eat teruma kodesh, but does not necessarily transmit his tumah even to food. Okay, so Tosfos discusses this level of tumah. You tameh, but you cannot infect others.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
How much is food for 2 meals according to Rabbi Meir Buddha? Buddha said in the name of Rav 2 peasant breads. Peasant is usually referring to simple people. Rav said Rav loaves are the equivalent of 2 nahar papision breads. What are they? It says in 21, loaves of the size baked at a place called nahar papiso.
That's a river.
If you go to different countries, you see different type of baking, different sizes of bread, different shapes, different this, different that.
I love them all.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah. Amar le Rav Yosef Brei de Rav Aruch Kaman Svirle. Rav Yosef said to Rav Yosef, the son of Rava, whose view does your father accept? Ki Rav Meir Svirle. Rav accepted the view of Rabbi Meir that a weekday meal is the criterion for the Eruv measure. It needs to be a weekday meal. Ananami Rav Meir Svirle. I too accept the view of Rabbi Meir. Ki Rav Yehuda Kasha, that when Sharav Chalav Simon Shachiach. For if one accepts the view of Rabbi Yehuda that a Shabbos meal is generally smaller than a weekday meal, there is a difficulty with the popular saying. The stomach leaves room for a tasty dish. You can use it if somebody tells you if you're full, but suddenly you have a tasty dish, you always have room for a tasty dish.
Or dessert.
Yeah, the proverb lends credence to Rabbi Meir position that one eats more at a Shabbos meal because the tastiness of the dishes. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon's view are close to being identical. Midomi, but are they? Rabbi Yochanan's measure is based on a criterion of 4 meals to a cab. Rabbi Shimon Teishus is also a cab. Rabbi Shimon quantity is based on a criterion of 9 meals to a cup. One must deduct 1/3 of the 1 punyan payment for the grocer's profit, that only 2/3 punyan figures in the calculation. The size of a loaf bought from a grocer for a punyan is therefore diminished in size by 1/3. The Gemara is dissatisfied with the proposed solution. Although the gap between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon has been narrowed by the solution advanced on the basis of Rav Chisda's statement, the difficulty raised regarding the Baisa's statement has not yet been resolved satisfactorily, but still, according to one master, Rabbi Shimon, there are 9 meals in a cup, while according to one master, Rabbi Yochanan, there are only 6 meals in a cup. Ela keidach the Rav Chisda d'Omar tzemeh mechzer l'chavonim. Rather, resolve the difficulty based on another statement of Rav Chisda, who said, one must deduct 1/2 of the payment for the grocer's profit. Only half of the punyan paid for the loaf figures in the calculation. But the views are still not identical. According to one master, Rabbi Shimon, there are 9 meals in a cup, while according to one master, Rabbi Yochanan, there are only 8 meals in a cup. This is why the Braisa says that their views are close to being identical. Their views are only nearly identical, not fully identical. The statement of Rav Chisda contradict each other. One statement asserts that the grocer's portion of the total price is 1/3, while another claims that it's half. The Gemara says, Lo kasha. This is not a difficulty. This statement, which gives the grocers only 1/3 of the total price, refers to a situation where the buyer provides the wood used to bake the loaf. But this statement, which gives the grocers only half of the total price, refers to a situation where the buyer did not provide the wood. The Gemara cites a passage of the Mishnah, half of it for a house afflicted with saras, and half of it is to render the body possible. We'll continue with this tomorrow, God willing.